Hello everyone, welcome back to another interesting episode of Azure Back to School series. In this Azure Back to School series, we will be discussing about the topic Azure AI Studio, your gateway to AI innovation. Let me introduce myself. I am Janathan and Selvaraj. I am a Microsoft most valuable professional, also Microsoft certified trainer, and I'm a Microsoft Learn expert. And LinkedIn recognized me a top voice in artificial intelligence as well as in machine learning contributions. Currently, I'm holding 13 Microsoft Azure Cloud certification. I'm an author and I'm a global speaker. I used to contribute articles, blogs, and speaking events to the Shisha Corner. If you want to connect to me, this is my LinkedIn handle. Feel free to connect it. Let's get started. The major agenda of today's session is on Azure AI Studio. What is the usage of Azure AI Hub and Azure AI Project? And we'll deep dive into the Azure OpenAI Assistant API, the respective assistant components, assistant playground, assistant tools like functions, files, your code interpreter, and we will see the detailed architecture of assistant API. And finally, we'll move on to the assistance pricing. Let's get started. Azure AI Studio, it is a unified platform for developing the generative AI applications, as well as if I want to build any custom Copilot experiences, we can make use of this Azure AI Studio because it is Azure AI Studio is all in one platform for building, evaluating, developing, deploying the generative AI solutions and the custom Copilot experiences. And it is a trusted and inclusive platform which empowers developers to drive innovation to shape the future of AI. And it is also a safe as well as secure. It follows the responsible AI practices. In terms of the full cycle development, from unified playground for prompt engineering as well as the pre-built Azure AI skills, which is used to build the multi-model applications within the search services for better information retrieval. And it also exhibits the semantic search approach. And it is possible to integrate data in a one particular platform itself. So because of all these features, the Azure AI Studio is a unified platform for developing the best GenAI solutions, as well as you may able to build a Copilot experiences in one umbrella. Let's see how this Azure AI Studio works. If you notice the Azure AI Studio works, it has consists of two important components. One is AI Studio Hub. The second one is AI Studio Project. When it comes to the AI Studio Hub, it is a top level resource in your Azure AI Studio. And it is also provides a collaborative environment to share the files and the connections to the pre-trained models, data, as well as your compute. With respect to the Azure AI Studio project, this is a child source of your AI Studio Hub, where it is going to inherit the connections, your compute resources. These are the two major elements you are going to integrate from the Azure AI Studio Hub. And this particular Azure AI Studio project will be act as a organizational container for all your customization as well as orchestrated related components. We can make use of the AI Studio project. Let's see what is the Assistant API, how it is going to work, what is the Assistant API playground, and the respective components in the upcoming slide. The major purpose of using the Azure OpenAI Assistant API, which is used to create as well as run AI assistants within your own application. If I want to build your own assistants, we can make use of the Assistant API playground to perform it. So under this Assistant API playground, we may have various tools as well as components involved like code interpreter, your function calling facility, your function calling facility as well as files uploading facility. These are the major components which are available as part of the Assistant API is concerned. Let's see what are the components in detail. With respect to this Assistant API, we have components like assistance, your instructions. We have various types of tools available, and we know what is the usage of thread. Thread, user messages, assistant messages, and there is something called run and run step. So these are the components which are related to your assistance. Let's see the component in a detailed manner. What is assistance? So assistance, it is a custom artificial intelligence which is going to use your Azure OpenAI model with respect to your assistant tools. And thread is nothing but if I want to make any conversation between your user and between your assistants, you can make use of thread. Related to message, message will be created by the assistants or an user. When I say message, message will include your text or the files or the message will be stored as a list in your thread. And the last two important components, run and run step. If you notice the difference between run and run step, run what it is going to perform is any assistant, if they are using the configuration as well as your corresponding thread messages, will be calling the respective models and the respective tools which are available in the assistant API is concerned, which is run. And in the run step, this is going to examine whether the run step allows you to understand how you are getting your assistants to produce the final response in your playground, which is your run step. So let's see the playground. So this is the assistant playground. You can see the assistant setup. We have able to create a new assistant with the help of new command. Once you created a new assistant, you're supposed to save this and you'll be able to open your assistants if you have several assistants which are in place. And you can see the deployment also, which deployment you want to use for assistant, that is also available, followed by the assistant tools like function is available, code interpreter is available. You're able to add files to your assistant playground. The assistant playgrounds provides a no code functionality where you'll able to test your capabilities of assistance overall. And if you want to know your detailed explanation of each and every code snippet as well as snapshot, that will be available in your log sections. So let's get started. What we are going to do is we are going to the Microsoft Azure portal. In the Microsoft Azure portal, we will provision the Azure OpenAI resource. I'm provisioning it. I'm going to create Azure OpenAI resource. First, you have to choose a subscription and then create a resource group. Let me create a resource group as test RG. And I have to provide some name. Let me provide as Azure back to school. The pricing tier, the standard pricing tier I'm choosing. And ensure that you have to follow all the responsible AI principle policies as well as the content safety measurements. Next, next. I'm going to hit the review plus submit button. Now the validation started checking. and the create button will be enabled if the validation is completely successful. Now it is completely successful. You have to hit the create button. The deployments initialized. This will become in a submitting phase. This will take hardly a minute or two to make this entire deployment successful. Now you can see the message deployment is in progress. Afterwards, you have to wait for hardly 1 minute time to make this particular deployment successful. Now you can see the message. Your deployment is complete. Click go to the resource. There is an option known as go to Azure OpenAI Studio. Click this. So here you have to create a deployment first. Let's click the deployment, create new deployment. So I'm typing the deployment name as sample deployment. You have to choose the model. Let me choose the model as GPT-4 model. Then that's it. Anything else? Let me make the default model version. Create. The deployment is created successfully. After this, go to the assistance playground in the playground section. Click this. In the assistant playground, we have to create a assistance first. It is now loading. Already the deployment is done. Let's see for a minute whether it is up and running or not. Just a second. Now only we have created a deployment. It will hardly take some time to reflect it. If it is not reflecting, what we can do, we can check in the Azure AI Studio option. The Azure AI Studio, because the Azure OpenAI playground is an old playground. Now let's see the new one, whether it is got reflected or not. There is a new one. Click Assistant Preview. Now it is loading. Let's see. Some update is going on. That's what the page is taking time to load. So our Azure AI Studio got up. Better, we will create a deployment here and we will check it out. Let's create a deployment. So in this deployment, as of now, there is no deployment place. Let's create a deployment. So whether you want to create a deployment from the base model or from the fine-tuned model. So let me create a deployment from the base model. So which model you want to create a deployment? So I want to create a model with respect to deployment GPT-4. Click this, confirm. And we need to provide the deployment name. Let me provide the deployment name as, I'll provide the name of the deployment, insurance deploy. This is my name of the deployment I've given. And deploy this. So after the new deployment is created successfully, you have to provide the assistant name. So I'm providing the assistant name this time as math-assist. So this is the assistance I'm providing it, math assistance. You can see here the tools like file search is available, your code interpreter is available. Likewise, you can find the different types of tools which are available in your assistant playground. Okay. Let's see the assistants which we have created. So let's see the deployment, whether it is reflected properly or not. In the deploy, I have chosen the option as insurance deploy. And let's go to the assistant playground. Well, it is not reflected. Let's see here whether it is reflected or not. I'll go to assistant playground. Let's check it out one more time. I think in the Azure OpenAI Studio, it was not reflected. But here it is reflected, but you have to wait for the option to save. Say math assistants. Tools, let me enable. Let me create a new resource so that it will get reflected in the assistant playground. So I'm creating a new resource. Let's wait for some time. So under the Azure AI Studio, we have created a AI project. We have created an AI hub followed by the storage account and the key vault. Now all the resources it is started updating and it is started creating successfully as well. Now AI hub is also created successfully. Now it is loading the AI project in the type. After this, it is loading all the resources in a new panel. Yes. In a new panel, it is loaded successfully. What we do now, let's choose a deployment for this. Deployment, already we have created it. Let's check it out, the deployment. We'll use the deployment insurance deploy. I'll use the GPT-4 playground only. Confirm this. I'll give GPT-4 deployment or else some name I'll change it. It's sample deployment. Deploy project. Now we have created the deployment. Let's see whether it'll able to open in the playground or not. Let's check it out. Once it is done, go to the assistant option. In the assistant option, we have to wait for some time. Then only it will be getting reflected. I'll create one assistant name as Math Assist and see the deployment. Still it is loading. What we will be doing in time being is till the time it is loaded. Let's see what is there in the presentation. So using your assistant playground, you can create various types of mathematical assistants which are possible. Also, If you want to solve any math related assistance, you can choose your assistant playgrounds to solve this. As well as if you have your Excel sheet, you want to play around with the Excel sheet with respective tools like code interpreter, as well as if you want to choose anything which are part of your functions, you want to write it like any logic app connectivity. If you want to write it, you can make use of the assistant playground. So that is possible. So using the assistant playground, any individual assistant can access up to 128 tools, including code interpreter, as well as including your files, your code retrieval, function calling is possible with the help of your assistant API. And this is the architecture flow. If you see the architecture flow, we have retriever, we have a code interpreter, we have a functions. These are tools available, and we have a runtime assistant is present for each and every assistant which has been created. And the models background, the scenes like GPT-4, your LLM models are present. You can upload the files like a PDF file, a text file, your HTML file, CSV file. These are the files that are possible to upload. And every time, whenever you create an environment in the Assistant API, it is going to create a thread interaction as possible. Then for all these Azure AI, Azure Assistant Playground creation, you need a subscription followed by the Azure OpenAI resource, where the resource is supported in your respective region. Let's see whether it is done. Then we will. Let's see the resource, whether it is up or wrong. Still, the resource is taking time. We created the model already. Let's see. Okay, I think it is taking time, guys. Better what I will do. I have already blocked for this. Let me show my block. So in this, my blog, you can check it out, the options, how to make it. Okay. So here in my blog, if you notice that the assistant playground, we have to create it. And here I have given the name as sample deployment. Your sales assistant is the name of the assistant. I have created it. And you can provide an instruction saying that you are a data analyst, where you can provide an insight based upon the data you have been provided. Followed by, I have enabled the code interpreter option. Also, I have added one of the CSV file as sales.csv file. Then I just started conversing with the assistant. So I typed hi, and I got the response as well. And if you want to type any mathematical based questions also, the code interpreter will automatically on for this. Then in the chat section, I was asking a question is, can you please provide a description of the sales CSV file? It is immediately provide the description of the sales CSV file. Also, which region your sales is having the highest number of units sold. So it has given me the answer also in that assistant API. And also, the final question I was asking is, can you please summarize this overall file using the bar chart? It is summarized with the help of bar chart also. Then the last question is, show me the code how to generate such type of request. It is providing the code also. By using all these functionality, it is possible to create your own assistants with the help of your Azure OpenAI Studio. So thank you so much, Dan Natwik, for providing this opportunity. And I think it is taking time to generate the model creation. For model creation, please refer my article. I have provided a detailed steps in my article. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more updates in the Azure Back to School series.